and 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Dominic Irrera.
Oh, what a way to lead the show there, Joe Rogan.
I like to do it that way. I don't know why I've been talking to you like that forever, but I have.
I know you. We always go into these Irish accents. They would throw us out of Ireland with those accents.
I think it was when you started touring in Ireland on a regular basis.
Uh-huh. That's a long time, Joe.
Yeah, but you've always been touring in Ireland. I remember you talking about how great Ireland was decades ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've always loved it there.
I've been to the Kilkenny Festival more than any other white guy. No, I mean American.
How long have you been there? How many times?
I think like 22.
Holy shit.
Rich Hall also went a lot, but he's based in London. I'm the only one that actually still comes over.
Rich Hall.
Remember him? He did the Sniglets. He was on Saturday Night Live.
He's based in London now?
Yeah, he likes it better there. You know?
Huh.
He still works here once in a while. He's got a place in Montana, but he was on Saturday Night Live, and he did that Sniglets book, and it was a big smash.
I paid to see him live when I was 1 week into comedy. He was performing at Stitches, and I went there live to see him.
Oh, Stitches in Boston.
Yeah. So he lives in London now. Is he still doing stand-up?
Yeah. I saw him at the Laugh Factory in Vegas a couple weeks ago. Him, Harris Pete, and Blake Clark.
He always used Harris Pete. Like, he would take Harris Pete on the road with him, and Harris Pete used to watch his Montana place for him.
Right.
That's hilarious.
He was a joyless doorman. Like, he made the comedy experience tense and miserable. But he was pretty funny.
He was rough as a doorman. But he's one of those old staples of the Comedy Store where it's almost kind of weird not having him around.
Yeah. He made it so uninviting, you know? Like, just have a smile, show to people, you know, they're going to have a good time. He made it like a military thing, you know?
Yeah, it wasn't good. Yeah. And then there was Chewy, who was always the guy who was sort of working the door.
You could get anything you wanted or anything you needed from Chewy.
Yeah, allegedly.
You know, he played guitar at the House of Blues across the street, and he was really good. And he was with this group, and I was thinking, 30 feet away, you're like the schlub who's like, you know, running around trying to sell, you know, coke or whatever he was doing, and here you're like a big star. Like, it's so close yet so far, you know.
Yeah, he used to headline at the House of Blues. We would all go over and see him.
Yeah,
he was fucking good, man.
Very good. Yeah.
His band. Where's he at?
I don't know.
Wow.
I've been seeing him in years.
You haven't seen that guy in literally forever.
Well, this whole renaissance of the Comedy Store has happened since you came back, and the guys, then they started filtering back. Bill Burr and Chris D'Elia came in, you know. But when he was here, there was some slow nights, man.
Oh yeah.
You know the place is slow when Paulie and I are the most famous people. It's not a good sign. I'm not putting myself down, but let's face it, you need a little more than the two of us.
Yeah, it's weird there now, isn't it? You go there now, it's like it's mobbed. You can't even get through the hallways.
I know, it's incredible. I mean, you know, I always think, what's going on? It's like nothing. It's just a regular night. But you'll have something in the main room or Sam Tripoli, it's incredible. Tuesday night main room full. That was unheard of.
Yeah, Tuesday night main room sold out while the OR sold out, while the belly room is sold out.
Yeah.
On Tuesday night. It's crazy. It's good, though. It's great for us. It's fun.
Yeah, well, I love the crowds there. I mean, I really get something out of all three clubs. I really do. Like, the Laugh Factory is like college kids and foreign students and foreign people. And the Comedy Store, to me, is the most cross-pollinated, like in the sense that there's so many more tourists because of the hotels, you know?
Right.
And then the Improv is kind of like Hollywood slick.
Yeah. And then there's the Improv Lab, which I just can't get a read on.
I've done it a couple times just for the challenge. And, man, they sit there, and then all of a sudden they laugh. It, like, scares you because they were sitting there. It's like, it was quiet. And then, they go...
It's a weird little room.
Yeah, they're very discerning. You know, that's like the hip spot there.
The thing is, that room used to be a great room when it was set up the other way.
I liked it the other way, too.
The other way was amazing when it was that whole bar area. Yeah.
Well, you know, the thing is, I don't know if you go, you don't do the multiple shows. Oh, you do them all at the store.
I do some of them. Some nights I'll do the Improv, and then I'll jet over to the store too. I don't really do the Factory anymore.
Yeah.
But if I can do it, if I do an early show at the store, sometimes I'll do the Ice House as well.
Well, you'll do benefits there once in a while.
Yeah.
That's the way Bill does it too. It's like, you know, whatever makes you happy. You know, we've talked about this. It's like, I just love the idea, and I know you do. You have a thought, and you can go on that night.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, imagine like an actor can't do that.
No, it's giant too, because sometimes that thought is funny to you right there in that moment. You know why it's funny to you, and you might forget why it's funny the next day. You might have like a little napkin with something written down, you know, tampons, Kleenex,
right?
You know, paper towels.
Well, I don't carry tampons anymore. Because my rectal bleeding has ceased. Come on, I started.
I don't think that's the way to go with rectal bleeding. I think there's other options.
I think you're. Did you ever get the colonoscopy?
No.
Colonoscopy, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, people asked me. They said I was saying something. They go, "It's funny." I said, "I don't think these college kids want to hear about that."
No.
You know, it's not the kind of subject I would bring up. It's bad enough I'm older than them. I don't want to bring up stuff that hasn't happened to them yet.
Yeah, stuff that they're never going to understand. Like Alzheimer's. Hey, kids, you know what about Alzheimer's disease, right?
What's the name of that disease? I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking, Jamie. We were talking. I was talking the power of this podcast. Not to stroke you, but you know how strong it is. When I went to Australia, not even thinking, all these boys were there, and they were like busting my chops about not knowing how. Do you remember we did a thing about how much does a gorilla weigh? And you were much closer than I was, and they're busting my balls about not knowing how much. Rogan beat you on that one, you know. Isn't that funny?
Fucking Australia. Of course, it's about wildlife over there. I got a buddy, my buddy Adam Greentree, is always trying to get me to come over to Australia, and every time I find something online that can kill you from Australia, I send it to him. I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah, but you never see that stuff. You got to go to the outback for that.
Well, that's where he wants to take me.
Why would you want to go there? You might as well just go to the Mojave.
Bow hunting. There's a lot of bow hunting in Australia.
Bull hunting?
Bow.
Oh, bow.
Like archery.
Oh my! Can you do that
in Australia?
No, can you do it? Are you good with a bow and arrow?
For real?
Yeah.
That's where I got that.
Wow.
No, I didn't know I bow hunted? Can't believe I never told you that.
No.
I've been doing it for years.
I've seen pictures of you and Brian
hunting.
Hunting, yeah. Bear and stuff.
With rifles. Was that with rifles?
Do you have any idea how much more of a man you are than I am?
I'm not thinking about it that often.
No, but I'm not. But I don't hunt. I don't do anything. To me, it's like a big deal to have somebody drive me to Vegas. I feel like an adventurer. I
don't think it has anything to do with being a man.
Well,
just think you don't have the same interests as me. That's the beautiful thing about America, Dom Irrera. Do whatever the fuck you want.
Thank you for telling me about the country that we love. But I just don't. I don't know. I mean, the whole idea of sleeping out in the woods and all.
It's fun. I enjoy it.
I enjoy 5-star hotels.
I enjoy those too.
24-hour room service.
I like that as well.
That's nice too.
I like that as well. But I do like getting up, open up the tent, looking out, and just seeing a mountain filled with trees and hearing the birds chirp and putting your boots on, having a cup of coffee that's warmed up by a fire. I love all that.
Must be very funny with you and Callan.
Callan is one of the funniest guys that's ever lived when it comes to like just hanging out and bullshitting.
Definitely.
Like with a small group of people.
Yeah.
We did the first time ever. Yeah, his energy, and he knows how to make shit laugh.
Yeah.
We did this hunt in Montana in 2012. It was like 6 or 7 days in the Missouri Breaks, which is like a real wild place. You don't see any people. There's no cell phone signals, and it was 6 solid days of gay jokes coming out of Callan. And I mean, gay jokes like Callan being gay with us, like wanting to have sex with us or wanting us to have sex with him, and it never stopped being funny. He's fucking hilarious.
Now, do you get all this down? Does anybody cover it? You know, for like a show someday or something.
Yeah, that was for a show. That was for a show called Meat Eater. It's a hunting show that my friend Steve Ranella has, and we've done that show 3 times. 4 times. We've done that show 4 times.
Does your wife mind you going on these trips?
No. She likes it.
That's cool.
And the meat is amazing. You know, you come back with wild game.
I can't imagine killing something and then eating it. That's so.
But you just eating meat right there.
What, the chicken?
Yeah.
But I don't think of it as like.
Of course, because you didn't kill it.
Do you ever think of like salami as being like part of an animal? To me, it's like just this little thing that runs around. They cut its legs off and make a sandwich.
Well, I think about it that way. Now I think about it as meat. But yeah, I always just thought about it as salami. It's very convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very convenient to think about things that way. And you lose that convenience when you hunt. You get a weird connection with your food that some people just don't want. And I understand that too. Some people just want to be able to go to the grocery store, pick up a little styrofoam container that has a steak in it, take it home, cook it, and they're good. And they're fine with that. That's fine too.
So you've killed stuff and eaten it there?
I've killed stuff and eaten it in the woods.
Wow.
Yeah. Or eaten part of it, obviously.
And then you freeze it?
Yeah. Yeah, you bring it home and freeze it.
When did you start this, Joe?
2012. So 6 years ago. More like 5.5.
And you, how about, is it a crossbow or what do you?
No, a compound bow. Looks like a regular bow, but it has wheels at the top that are called cams. And then the cams, when it turns over, it gives you a mechanical advantage. It makes the bow more powerful.
God, that's cool.
It's intense.
I like the crossbows.
Yeah, those are good, but it's really just like a shitty gun. That's what a crossbow is. It's like you're just shooting a stick instead of like you could rest it and look through you could put it on a rest actually and look through the scope and then squeeze the trigger like a rifle. It's not nearly as difficult as a regular bow.
Now, did you ever shoot an animal, hit it, and then it ran away?
Unfortunately, yes. I did that on TV. I did that with that Meat Eater show. Yeah, there was a problem with the rifle. The rifle scope was off.
Yeah.
I had fallen, and the rifle scope was installed by one of the guys as we got there. We changed scopes because there was a sponsor of the company, a sponsor of the show rather, and they put a different rifle scope on and shot a deer with it, and it was wounded, and it didn't die.
Yeah, that's kind of suck.
It was horrible. I mean, I'm sure it died within a couple hours, but we couldn't get to it in time.
Yeah,
we couldn't find it.
I'd rather just hit it with a car.
Blah. Well, that's one of the problems where we were in Wisconsin. Like at nighttime, you got to drive slow.
Oh yeah,
they're fucking everywhere. They're darting out into the middle of the road, especially when what's called the rut kicks in. Do you know what the rut is, Tom? The deer get honey.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, they rut. They rut around. They get fucking crazy. They get so crazy they'll just like walk right into traffic and just stare at cars.
I'll fuck anything.
They don't know what's
coming
doing.
at me.
I mean, there's videos of moose trying to fuck bales of hay during the rut. Like they literally lose their mind. They have no idea what's going on.
The moose are like 9 feet or something.
They're gigantic.
Yeah. A
good sized moose, like a good sized Canadian moose, could be 1,800 pounds.
Holy shit.
Yeah, you can't even imagine how.
You don't eat them, do you?
Yeah, I shot one of those. One in the other room.
You have moose burgers here?
Yeah, I've got moose burgers.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I've got some left over. Yeah, I got a lot of elk burger. That's an elk, that big guy on the wall back there.
Wow.
They're delicious. So good for you, too. It's like the best meat you could
really?
ever... Oh, yeah. It doesn't even look the same. It looks like a deep, dark red.
I don't know how it's psychological. It's obviously psychological, but certain meats like rabbit, I can't eat. And I don't know why, because I'll eat chicken. It doesn't really make sense.
Are you a Bugs Bunny fan?
Yeah. Big, hardcore.
Hardcore?
Yeah.
Did you get the tattoo?
Yeah, but I don't want to talk about it. Can we talk about this off the air, please?
Yes. Sorry.
It's embarrassing.
I know. Yeah, a lot of people get real attached to rabbits, but chickens are they're heartless little dinosaurs.
They're noisy and...
Yeah. Yeah. Chickens, they're basically a lizard. It's just a lizard with feathers.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, you pluck all that shit off and look at them. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
What's a bird? It's like a flying lizard.
Not a good-looking animal.
Do they know whether or not pterodactyl... I just found out from my 7-year-old that pterodactyls are not dinosaurs.
Really?
Yeah, she corrected me.
They came in a different period?
I don't know. She told me they're not dinosaurs, and we Googled it, and she was right. And I was like, how am I so stupid?
They're not dinosaurs.
And then I was thinking, we always had those images of pterodactyls where they were flying around and they had bat-like wings, right?
Right.
What do you got, Jamie? You got something for me?
That's what it says. It says they lived at the same time, but they're not actually dinosaurs.
What makes it a dinosaur, technically?
It's a good question. Somehow, they're not actually dinosaurs. They were flying creatures, and paleontologists keep telling us that dinosaurs are birds. So what? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
They're petrosaurs, but that doesn't make any sense because dinosaurs are birds. So birds became dinosaurs, but pterodactyls who could fly are not dinosaurs.
Well, isn't the bird the closest descendant of dinosaurs?
Yes. Yeah. They're not dinosaurs, so what the hell are they? Here's the thing, when they show that image of them with the skin for wings instead of bats, I don't know if they know if that's real. I don't know if that's based on what they absolutely know or what they think, because they're starting to think that a lot of dinosaurs had feathers now. This is pretty recently. I was in the museum in Bozeman, Montana, there's a museum, like a natural history type museum, and they have like a split image of a dinosaur, like a raptor, and it's covered with feathers.
Wow.
Yeah, because they think it's entirely possible that a lot of the dinosaurs were covered in feathers. Well,
I didn't know
just
that.
Not as much fossilized remains of it.
Huh. I didn't know that man never lived with dinosaurs at the
Really?
same period. Yeah, I didn't know that until a couple of years ago.
You really didn't know?
I thought cavemen, because they always show them like in cartoon. I was going by the Flintstones.
You really didn't know?
Well, I mean,
You're a real comic, Dom.
I guess I am.
You don't pay attention to shit. Outside of telling jokes.
Thank God I can do that decently, Joe. What would I do? I have no skills. I like to teach kids. I like teaching fourth grade, and that was about it.
Well, you like having fun. Well, if you teach kids, don't teach them about dinosaurs. What did you teach?
I
Paleontology.
taught everything. Yeah, I taught everything because it was Catholic school. I taught everything but the smart kids math because I was dumb. I stuck with the dumb kids, and we would split the class. Like, come on, you retards, come with me, which you couldn't say now.
Yeah, you couldn't say that now. You get in serious trouble. You'd be on the front page of USA Today.
I still have kids that get in touch with me.
Really?
Yeah. They said, and it makes me feel so good that it was the best year of their lives as far as going to school. Because we had fucking fun. I would go in, my speech was, I want to go to the gym more than you guys do, so don't mess it up for me. And you got to learn some of this stuff. I don't know why I hate it too. I'd be like kind of honest.
Right.
And they dug it, and we had dance contests and everything. It was hilarious. I had this one kid, Tyrone Dunn. He was like a baby James Brown. He could do a split, a complete split, and then get himself up without touching anything.
Wow.
Yeah, amazing.
Like James Brown.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, well, when you're a kid and you're going to school, like anyone who has any spark of life is exciting. I still, to this day, think about some of the teachers that I had in high school. I had two really good teachers in high school. One lady, I wish I could remember her name, and one guy who was a Spanish teacher that I'm pretty sure fucked one of my friends, who was a girl.
Thanks for clearing that up.
He was a young guy. He was like 25 years old, and she was hot. And I know that they were like talking a lot. And she was 17, he was 25, and I'm pretty sure he fucked her. I'm almost positive, because she was very sexually aggressive, and she was advanced for her time, both physically and mentally. Like she was one of those girls, like you knew she was not going to last in that town. She's going to get the fuck out of there.
I remember I did this clean show at the that hotel in San Diego. I forget what it was, where Some Like It Hot was.
It's a clean show?
Del Coronado. I did a clean show, like an early show at 7 o'clock on a Saturday.
They make you be clean?
Well, they can only make you be so clean. But the point, the thing I was getting at was there was these 15-year-old boys there, right? And they were with their parents. You could tell their parents were a little snooty. So I said, 15, what a great age. And this can be a dangerous thing to say. I said, what's great about being 15? You can nail a 15-year-old girl and not go to jail for the rest of your life. Right? And the kids were crying, laughing, and the parents were they looked like they wanted to pull them out of there.
Oh, yeah. Parents don't want kids fucking. Yeah, hilarious.
Well, if they're both 15, you really can't get in trouble.
Well, the girl could get pregnant.
Yeah.
That's no bueno. But, like, the idea that you're going to stop them. Like, hey, you stop doing that thing that feels better than anything you're ever going to do at school, at work. Don't do that, though. All of your cells in your body are compelling you in that direction.
But don't do that.
But don't do it. Your whole body, your DNA, your thoughts are haunted. Everything is wrapped around, like, tits and ass and legs and feet and mouths and don't do it.
I remember the first time I whacked off I was in my bedroom in Philly, and I came so much that I thought I'll never have children. I really did. I swear, Joe, I thought I emptied it.
Until you drained the tank.
It just kept coming.
Oh, no.
Flow gushes.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing how far you would shoot back then, too?
Oh.
The distance was insane.
Knock your eye out from
We Googled it, and I think, if I remember correctly, the furthest a guy ever jizzed was like 29 feet.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I can't even throw it that far.
I don't remember making that search.
You blacked it out of your memory like a childhood molestation.
There was There was this guy, Lenny Schultz.
I remember Crazy Lenny.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
He used to do a bit about jerking off a midget. He goes, I jerk off the midget, and he would come in the air, and then I would bat his cum onto the crowd.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I know.
Crazy Lenny.
What do you say to that? Oh, good. I see you writing, always writing.
He used to fucking walk on stage with a Smokey the Bear doll. And he would hold the doll up and say, only you can prevent forest fires. And he goes, shut the fuck up, and punches the bear. It didn't make any sense, and you were crying laughing. He was one of those guys that was just fucking funny. From the look on his face to everything he said, he just knew how to. He was his own unique style. He just knew how to be funny.
Well, he had that psychotic funny, too. Like, he looked like a guy that would pet a pigeon and go, yeah, sure, Daddy loves you, and then snap its neck and go, what did I do?
Exactly.
Daddy loved you.
Exactly.
Crazy.
And then chuck it aside and keep moving on with his act. He grabs the bear. Only you can prevent forest fires. Shut the fuck up. Boom. Punches the doll. we remember Jimbo's place in Montreal?
Yeah, of course.
Comedy Works.
Yeah,
that's where we were. That's where where I saw Crazy Lenny.
Well, that was probably around the first time I met you then.
Probably, yeah. Like 93-ish, somewhere in that range.
I remember meeting you at the Club Soda.
Yeah, that was fun. And then we ran into each other again at Amsterdam Billiards.
Right. Then we
And
started shooting pool.
Oh, this time we're here to praise the pool. There's only a few of us that play the pool. Artie Lang plays real good pool.
Does he?
Yep, very good. Fitzsimmons was here yesterday. He plays real good.
Yeah, Greg and I just played at the Improv. They used to have a quarter table upstairs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for years.
Oh, the setup up there is very nice down now at the Improv.
Yeah,
that whole green room with the podcast studio.
Yeah, that is cool.
Very nice. It's a good setup.
We're plugging the shit out of these clubs.
Oh, that's what we do down there. But yeah, like out of guys who play pool, like comics who play pool, it's a fucking small group of us.
Yeah.
Not that many. Who else? Somebody else plays good.
I think Adam Ferrara plays.
Yes. Ferrara plays very good.
Yeah.
Adam plays very good. Yeah.
He was at my house playing, but I know I'll never get you back there because there's too many obstacles.
You got to jack up. They like have one of those little baby cues.
Well, Joe, who has room like this? Who has 50 feet on each side of a pool table?
Well, we're going to stream some stuff from here. We're going to eventually stream pool matches.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. We're going to set up cameras and just talk shit and have live streaming. You ever heard of Twitch? Do you know what Twitch is?
No.
Twitch is a streaming service where you play games on it, mostly video games. Most people use it for video games. But we've been talking to them about doing video games, and then I'm thinking we might do some pool matches as well, and even some archery.
Well, put me up against Tosh.
All right, you're going to.
I like
Does
to
Tosh
be-
play?
A little bit, but I always beat him, you know.
Oh,
which is-
psychological advantage.
I don't know. I love beating him in that and him shooting baskets because he calls me old man, grandpa, and all this shit, so I want to beat him in something.
You know what? I'm modeling some of what I do after Tosh. In that he doesn't do any interviews. He's like, I do it enough.
He's so fucking smart.
He's so smart. He's like, he knows how to not be overexposed. And I've fucked that up in the past, and now I'm just like, when I get requests for interviews, I'm like, what? I say too much already. Well, I'm already talking too much.
You notice I never asked you again because you did me the favor, and I don't want to push it. But the fact is, we had Jamie to fuck around with that time. So no, I'm not going to really nail you on an interview, make you.
Oh, you mean on your podcast?
Yeah.
That's different. I do friends' podcasts all the time, but it's like interviews and real shows and stuff like that. It's like
you got nothing to gain, Joe.
Yeah,
you're famous enough, and Daniel's right. I mean, what are you going to get good out of that? Like doing Jimmy Kimmel. Doing 5 minutes. I mean, you probably wouldn't want to do the stand-up, even though it's your favorite thing. And then you go over to the panel, and I like Craig Ferguson only because it was improv.
Right. Well, I think that sitting down and talking to someone should be like this. You really want to get to know somebody?
Oh yeah.
You should talk to him like this. Have a real conversation with him. Having a conversation with someone when you're under the gun of 5 minutes and there's a band there and you're sitting sideways and you're at the desk and I'm sitting over like this and we're talking about some project that I'm doing. It's like a quick pitch. You have like a quick story that you can tell and just.
So I understand you rent a car when you come into town. What's that like?
That's funny, Dom. I do rent a car and I always take the insurance. You know why? Because I drive like a fucking maniac.
You people here on Highway 95, what are you, nuts?
What is going on with the drivers in Los Angeles? You turn to the audience.
You know,
Yeah.
I did Ferguson's show once, and he gave me the wrong plug. I had already worked the Denver club that you like so much.
Comedy Works?
Yeah, I'd already worked that, and they plugged it on. I said, I came out. I said, Craig, you got a really crack staff here. I already worked that gig. I said, but I'm so hot, I'm white hot in this business. They have to post plug things so there won't be a riot, right? And he said, well, we'll just start it over, because they're filming it. And I said, no, I got a spot in a couple hours. I ain't starting it over. And we got like in a fake argument. It was the most fun I ever had doing live stand up. Because I said, let me go sit in your high chair and judge me like a little joke monkey, and then I'll come over and we'll say funny stuff there too.
Well, he's just doing stand-up now.
Yeah,
and
he's got a podcast.
A show. Yeah, it's on Sirius too as well.
Yeah.
But he just got tired of doing his show.
Wasn't his name Hitler something? Or
Whoa, really?
I think so.
His name's Hitler? Craig Ferguson? What kind of a fucking asshole for a parent? If you're born with the name of Hitler, I don't care how far you get away from that.
I can't remember the whole name, but I think Hitler was in the name.
In the name? Like Hitlersburg?
I don't know. But
Hitlerstein?
he's Scottish, right?
Yeah.
He's got something.
What is it?
It says a Bing Hitler. It was like
What?
something he did in the 80s, looks like. Hold on.
Yeah.
Oh, Bing Hitler.
Yeah.
Oh, was it a character that he was doing?
Character, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish we could play it. Oh,
Look at
Jesus
that.
Christ, look at him.
That's
He
hilarious.
looks like he's 12. He looks like he's a kid in school.
He
Look
really
how
does.
young faced he is with his fake act, with his hair all fucked up. Give me some volume.
Everywhere.
Wow,
Sometimes they get everywhere.
that accent's
so
insane.
so much thicker,
But
isn't it?
even in drinks now.
Wow,
That stuff, mezcal from Mexico.
wow.
What the fuck is that about?
So he had a character.
Yeah.
That was the character that he'd do, and the character he would go crazy with it. Yeah. Well, there was a time, and there still kind of is still a time, where we're enthralled by mediocre people with fake accents.
Yeah.
Not fake accents, but, accents from other places. Foreign accents, I should say, not fake.
It's like the thing that bothers me, and I love stand-up, and it was when a guy acts so different, or like all of a sudden he goes into this character.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the funniest guys to me are guys that do characters, but they're themselves.
Yeah.
And they talk real, and that's why, you and Burr, you're the same guys on and off stage. When we're talking, sometimes you get silly, sometimes you're serious. you know?
Right. Just be yourself, yeah. I know what you're saying. Be sincere.
But you can be just as fucking goofy as you want, but don't stay in that.
Yeah.
It's so hacky to me.
It can be. I'm always waiting for someone to do it right. I don't want to pass judgment. Like maybe one guy comes along and he's in character all the time, but it's fucking hilarious.
Oh,
It's possible.
I just watched Jim Carrey on when he did Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
It was fucking amazing.
Oh, that was the documentary.
No, that sprang from that. But I was
Right.
watching the movie last night. I forget what it's called. Something.
Man on the Moon?
Yeah, Man on the Moon.
Yeah.
Boy, Jim's good.
Oh, it's brilliant. You know what's really interesting with him? He's taken like a severe psychological and I guess philosophical turn where he's just thought about life and things. He must have had like some psychedelic experiences too.
I think so. Sounds like it.
Yeah, because he's just talking about like what matters and what doesn't matter. And and there's just a bunch of like interviews and clips of him discussing things where you're like, whoa, like this guy he's not talking like Jim Carrey, the world famous A-list actor who's had gigantic smash movies. He's not talking like that at all. He's like talking like some guy who's just trying to sort of understand his place in the universe.
Yeah,
in
he
this
really is.
really profound way. He's a very well thought out guy.
Did you watch this thing about him painting?
No.
This came out a couple months ago.
Oh, didn't we play this where some of his paintings are really cool? They're like in neon and shit.
Yeah, but he says some of the stuff that he's been thinking about and dealing with and whatnot.
So it's called I Need Color, and it's on Vimeo.
Yeah.
So folks, go check that out.
Joe, did I tell you about the little part I have in I'm Dying Up Here?
No.
Okay, so I play Fitzy Anderson because they wouldn't let me use Fritzy Anderson. Remember Fritzy Anderson?
No.
Is this thing on? Hello? Is the
your
sound system
character.
working here? Yeah.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let me. Parents.
Why wouldn't they let you do
They
that?
said Fritzy was a slur to Germans.
What?
Yeah, I swear.
Oh, Jesus
I know.
Christ.
So anyway, I go in the Comedy Store on a Thursday night. Why I was there just to practice. I know, trying a couple lines and doing some shit. And Jim's in the audience. He comes out, he hugs me. Anyway, long story short, he was with his wife, his ex-wife, and their daughter was ill, and it's a great girl. She's a really good singer too, by the way. But anyway, they start talking. He said, "Wow, how fucking funny Dom was." He goes, "I want to put him in this show." And Melissa goes, "Well, I'll tell you one thing. He's not going to dance for you. If you want him, I'll ask him, but he ain't going to audition." He goes, "I'm not going to make him audition. I've known him for fucking 30 years." Anyway, that's how I got the part. Isn't that funny?
Just randomly.
Randomly, he came in to look for young comedians. I am not one of them. If you could tell by my receding hairline, but yeah, I mean, isn't that amazing? I mean, just there on a Thursday night, randomly.
Is that show still going on?
Yeah, we're shooting. They're shooting 10 more. I know I'm doing an alcoholic the whole time, which is.
I never watched it. I watched one episode and I thought it was pretty good, but I heard that it
got better.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that it was improving. That's what I heard.
Well, you know,
all those things started off
do you remember
clunky.
Seinfeld at the beginning?
I remember News Radio, the show I did in the beginning. It was clunky.
Yeah.
It took a while to really get rolling.
Yeah, to get the rhythm.
Become what it is.
Yeah.
Sitcoms are very difficult. You know, I mean, one of the reasons why people are like, oh, why aren't there any good sitcoms in the air? Well, goddamn, it's hard to do.
Well, this is a serious one. Like, I'm kind of the comic relief on this because it's about like comedians, but not like, you know, when we goof around. Hi, show us a Rogan.
Right.
You don't see hardly any of that. You see them more like jealous of each other, and they're showing the dark side of it. The woman who plays the Mitzi part is Melissa Leo. She won an Academy Award for some boxing movie, I forget. But she's playing Mitzi really serious. And I don't want to say anything, you know, because she's a great actress. But if I were asked to give one note, I would say Mitzi really had a fun side to her. Mitzi, by the way, for those of you that don't know, was the owner of the Comedy Store.
Pauly Shore's mom. She brought us 2 things. One of them was awesome. No, just kidding.
Has he been on the show?
Yeah, he's been on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Pauly. He's a sweet guy. He's a good guy to be around. Like, he gives people hugs and shit. And like all of us.
Yeah, he's trying. He's trying
growing.
to grow up.
Yeah. Well, he had a hard life. I mean, can you imagine being babysat by Sam Kinison?
No.
I mean, what in the fuck? What kind of crazy shit is that?
Argus Hamilton sleeping with your mom.
Argus and Sam Kinison hanging around your house. Everybody's doing blow.
Yeah.
And you're going, what, buddy? It's the weasel. He was gigantic at one point in time.
Who's Sam?
Well, Sam was for sure, but so was Pauly.
Oh, Pauly, yeah.
Pauly was gigantic.
Was it the Weasel?
I mean, when he was doing movies like In the Army Now with Andy Dick, remember that? Jesus Christ. It was huge.
He had a 3-picture deal. And
Encino Man, that was another one. Biodome, remember he did Biodome?
Yeah.
With Stephen Baldwin? It was a good movie. I enjoyed it. Don't look at me like that.
Son-in-law. I hear some people talk about Son-in-Law all the time.
Yeah, he's fucking funny. Those movies were fucking funny.
Yeah, he is
I don't know
funny.
what he did wrong or where it went wrong, or, you know, sometimes, like, I think people just get bored. They just want some new person, right?
I'll tell you who's hot right now is Tiffany Haddish.
Oh, dude.
I love that girl.
I call you Jew. Jude. I was trying to
Jew.
I was trying to say
she's
dude.
Jewish, by the way.
Is she?
Yeah, she's Ethiopian Jewish.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Tiffany Haddish is the person who told me about sickle cell anemia being related to malaria. That people who have a resistance to malaria develop the trait for sickle cell anemia.
Wow.
And that's where the origins of it are, apparently. Isn't that crazy?
It's primarily a Jewish and a black disease, right? More,
is it a Jewish disease
more
as well?
Jews and blacks get it than any other
Oh, that's
group.
interesting. I did not know that. I thought it was just blacks. I had a friend of mine who died from it.
Really?
My friend Walter. Yep. From back when I was fighting. I remember
And I would love to see you fight, Joe.
I was a different guy, man. I was very intense. I wasn't very funny.
Did you ever think you'd be a comedian when you were in those days?
No. I didn't think I was funny. I made people laugh, but the people that I made laugh were all psychos. They were all like guys that I was training and fighting with. Right. And I was just like, I felt like we were all freaks, you know, because we were martial artists that were traveling literally all around the country and entering into these full contact tournaments. And
you don't have any video?
I have some video. There's a video of me on YouTube,
really?
me knocking somebody out.
No kidding.
Yeah, when I was 19 in Connecticut.
You think you could beat me in a fight?
Court? No. I couldn't. I love you too much. I just hold you.
Well, you know what you do, which is really interesting for a guy that's strong. You never.
That's me right there. this is me in the blue, and I kick that guy and launch him.
Oh,
That's
wow.
all I have. I have some
great.
other video on my computer somewhere, some like uneventful round of some Taekwondo tournament. There's a guy out there who's got a couple of videos of me though, and he and I have gone back and forth on.
What weight were you?
That was 154. When I was in senior year in high school, I fought at 140, and that was too light. It was too hard for me. I was always dehydrating myself, and I would do things in the shower, like jump up and down in the shower and shadow box in the shower with the hot water on and try to sweat out weight. Mm-hmm. I couldn't eat for like a whole day, and then I would fight that day, and it was terrible. I did that for 1 year.
That sounds horrible. My
Yeah.
father was a professional boxer,
Yeah.
and but he was the bad thing about it. He was a 500 boxer.
Oh no.
And boxing, 500 in baseball, you're the greatest player ever. But boxing, you got to be like 800, at least.
Yeah, especially to make a living.
When
right?
he won, he would come home beaten up.
That must have been hard to see. You see
Yeah, it
your
was
dad come home
horrible.
all fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see people that fight in the UFC, and their kids come to hug them, in the cage, and you see the terrified look in their children's face, and they're looking, the guy's eyes all fucked up and swollen and cuts, and it's a different type of human being that does that.
I had so much fun though. The time you invited me to the one in Montreal, where the guy who's the king of Montreal was
George St. Pierre.
That was incredible. It was the loudest noise of cheers I've ever heard.
Yeah, they love him.
And the other one was when we went to the place where those guys who own the Sacramento Kings, the place where they have a Playboy Club, and you had fights there. You know what I'm talking about? That it's off the strip.
Yes, the Palms.
Palms.
Yes.
And one of the cool moments, I mean, even though you realize how powerful and how real it is, this kid got knocked out, and I was sitting next to his mother and his wife, and he wouldn't wake up for a couple minutes. Then he finally got up. And then there was another kid who was like in the cartoons. He ran up the wall, and I don't know how the fuck he did it. And he was a young black kid. He ran up the wall and went upside down and then landed on his feet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, John Dodson.
Is that
Pretty sure it was John. He does that after fights. He runs up the
Yeah,
wall
that's what
and
it
does
was after the
flips.
fight, yeah.
He's a freak. Awesome athlete. Yeah. Yeah, that's different kind of human being that does that.
Oh yeah.
It's to be in that world. It's just an intense existence that's unlike very many other in this world, other than war. War is probably the most intense existence. Guys who are warriors, actual soldiers. Other than that, I think MMA fighters, and then obviously first responders, firefighters, cops, things along those lines.
Oh man, I was thinking about that with those fires this year.
Oh God, my buddy's a firefighter. He was up there, and he's in Simi Valley, and they shipped him out with everybody else, and he was telling me it was insane. He's like, you couldn't stop the fire. It was just too big. And then, they have thousands of firefighters. And here's the other thing, not just thousands of firefighters, but prisoners.
Really?
They had prisoners working the fire.
And they could get out early, maybe?
I don't think so.
No.
I think they got paid, and I don't think they got paid much. I think they got paid like $1 an hour, like something fucked up.
Wow.
And they're out there working on the fires. I'll just pretend I got burned. I'll just run into the fire. I'm free. I got a fake ID. I'm going to Mexico. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did that. I think that's one of the most fucked up things about prison is that they get them to work and they pay them like pennies.
I didn't know that. I mean, I know they get them to clean up. Well,
Yeah.
Even if you have a DUI, you can get that, and that would even go into prison.
Yeah?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you can work it off or pay it off. But
Oh,
they,
really?
like clean the sides of the roads. A friend of mine did that instead of he didn't have the money.
How much is the money to pay a DUI?
I think it all comes to around 10.
10 grand?
Yeah, I mean with the lawyer and everything.
10 grand at $1 an hour is a long time.
Oh my God.
If they really pay you $1 an hour.
Yeah. I get that DUI.
Yeah. you just Uber it now most of the time, right?
Yeah.
Are you drunk right now?
No. Do I
Just
look
kidding.
drunk? That would be sad. I get nervous when I talk to you.
We've been friends for 30 years almost.
Holy shit.
Isn't that crazy? We've been friends for 25 years? Somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 years. That's a long time, Mr. Irrera. That's crazy. Isn't that nuts?
You think I'd have more material by now?
You've already used it off. Hey, are you? You're talking about filming something.
What do you mean?
Are you talking about filming a special?
You know what? I did one. Last time I was on the show, you told me I should do one. I did it, and I just didn't like it.
Oh, when did you do it?
Whatever. The last time I was on the show,
It's like a year ago, I would imagine.
a little more, and then I waited about 3 months, and I shot it, and
You just decided not to release it?
yeah.
What was wrong with it? Like, what didn't feel good about it?
I don't know. I just my ass looked fat. I just didn't like it. I mean, it didn't seem to have the energy I thought I have. You know.
Huh. So it didn't feel to you like representative of a real set that you would have like at a club?
Right. Just a normal night at a club. That's all I wanted.
Did you feel pressure? Like, because that's one of the things that I feel that I always battle when I do a special is that, like, here's the moment, it's now, ready, go. And one of the best ways I found to combat that is I do a bunch of shows. I do 4 shows.
Yeah, see, that's smart. I did 2.
Yeah. 2 is tight.
Yeah, and they were back to back.
Yeah. Sometimes people clam up. I've seen people do 1 and it becomes a disaster. You could feel the tightness on stage because there's so much riding on it.
Right.
It's just not just a regular show. There's no room really to fuck around. You got to have room to fuck around. Like, part of what a live show is it's flowing.
I mean, I would like to get myself in a club where I'm if something's like worth talking about with an audience member or something that's really cool, I would do it. But just be a normal club set. That's what I want.
Right.
Like a normal but very strong club set.
Where did you film?
The Laugh Factory in Vegas.
Yeah.
Remember that's
You should do the Laugh Factory in Hollywood. That's a comfortable club for you, and they already set up for filming.
Yeah, I know. I could do it any night.
Yeah, maybe that's a good move.
Well, Jamie wanted to tape me like a couple weeks in a row, doing like 40 minutes.
Yeah,
you know.
You should. That's a great place to do it, Dom, because they film you whether you like it or not there.
Yeah, well, we talked about this. That's not a good sign.
But they do have the setup. They have the setup to film you.
Their Vegas room is nice.
Is it?
Yeah, well,
Is that the Trop?
Well, here's the thing that's great about Vegas, Joe, is that you could do I'm doing the first week of April, I think, the Trop, but then I'll do Brad Garrett's club too, because they don't give a fuck. It's Vegas.
Right.
Vegas, unlike Columbus, Ohio, they have the same audience pretty much, you know. But there, they have the audience comes in from far away every week, you know, so you could play Vegas a lot.
That is true. Like, that's one of the reasons why residency works in Vegas.
Yeah, it wouldn't work anywhere else.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about doing that? A residency?
I think, I think I'd kill myself in Vegas.
Just boozing and hanging out and hitting a rhino at 3 in the morning. Woo! Fistfuls of dollars. Da, 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 da,
I go out with this girl, and she's got really hot daughters, right? I mean, she's hot too.
The girl you're dating?
Yeah, she's very hot. But she's always telling me how beautiful her daughters are. I go, look, I know, but I don't want stop pimping off your daughters to me. But I took him to see Tosh. I was in town for the Super Bowl, and Daniel was at the Mirage, and they got. I forget how big a deal it would be to a 16-year-old boy to meet him, and we went back. He was so gracious with them, but it was I couldn't believe because this kid played John Lennon in Love when he was a little kid. So he's been around theatrical people, you know, Love, that Beatles thing.
That Beatles thing is fucking amazing.
It's good,
at
ain't
the
it?
Mirage. Yeah.
They start that acapella because very cool.
Well, I know you're a huge Beatles fan.
Yeah,
you've always been a big Beatles fan. So I took my family to see that about a month ago or so. Went to see that the Mirage. Fuck, it's incredible. It's such a show, man.
Isn't it cool to see your kids kind of digging it?
Yeah.
Like all those years ago. And, you know, I know so many little kids that like the Beatles. It's weird.
They're so good. They were so good. And I think it's hard for someone today in 2018 with this vast variety of music that we have and so much good music over the history of music, you know, so much recording, that it's hard to understand how in the 1960s, how amazing the Beatles were.
Yeah.
That out of nowhere, this band out of Liverpool comes out and they just have this revolutionary music. It's just, so much of it is so different.
Yeah, it was very different. And they were the ones they added orchestras and all this stuff. You know, but it reminds me of the thing we were talking about before of the sitcoms. they were given a chance to get better. A lot of people today, if they're one or two bad records, they're out.
Yeah.
Then they got some other beautiful girl replacing them. You know,
It's true. You know, it's the same way with fighters. You know, I've had this conversation with my friend Brendan Schaub, and I were talking about this the other day. That
I know
guys,
Brendan. Yeah.
Big Brown. Guys get into the UFC too young, and then they're fighting top flight competition like right away, and it's either sink or swim.
Yeah.
And some guys swim, but some guys have real massive potential. But really, they should be fighting someone of a lower caliber and developing their skills and experiencing a bunch of different styles, and then eventually working their way up to the UFC after 5-6 years or so. And instead, they're fighting in the UFC at 20 years old, and they're just not really ready for top flight competition. Because in the UFC, if you string together 5-6 wins, you're in title contention in some weight divisions.
Yeah, that'll discourage the shit out of you.
Yeah, and you're getting fucked up by some guy who's just many levels above you. You really shouldn't be fighting him. Like the flyweight division is a perfect example because it's run by this guy Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. He's probably the best pound for pound fighter that's ever lived. And if you
That's
string,
saying something, man.
he's fucking incredible, and he's a wizard. Like he barely gets hit, and we've seen him in the octagon develop and grow and become this guy, and now he's just there's everybody, and then there's Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse is just another level above everybody.
I never seen anybody as good as Mayweather to avoid punches.
No one's better. No one gets hit less.
It's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, guy's 50-0, and obviously one of them was Conor McGregor, which is kind of crazy. But Conor hit him, I mean, Conor can crack. But he just had no business in the ring, honestly. I mean, we really didn't know if he had business in the ring until he fought him. After the fact, it's easy to say that.
Yeah.
But, like, he caught him with that uppercut in the first round. What if he wobbled him? What if he hurt him?
Oh, anybody can get knocked out, yeah.
If you get hit right, anybody can get knocked out. But Mayweather has been hit right where he was hurt. I don't think Conor hurt him. I think he just hit him good. But he's been hurt. Sugar Shane Mosley hurt him. He's been hurt a couple of times in his career. But over the course of 50 professional fights where most of them are at world championship level.
Right.
It's crazy.
Remarkable. I was watching, they had like a highlights of the MMA on Fox today, and Ronda Rousey when she got kicked in the face.
Jesus, yeah.
What a great kick that was.
Holly Holm, yeah. That was in Australia. I remember being there for that.
Oh, that was in Melbourne, right?
I think it was in Sydney.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, pretty sure Sydney. That was crazy. Might have been Melbourne. You might be right. Might be right. I think you're right. Now that I think about it, I think you're right. No, you're definitely right now that I know it.
Stop arguing with yourself.
Sorry.
Leave yourself alone. You're a good person.
I'm trying to remember. I love Melbourne.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love that town.
Great restaurants.
Fuck, I was just going to say that. Great coffee, too.
Donovan's.
They have everything. Like, their seafood's fantastic, but it's almost like an artsy sort of San Francisco-like.
It is, yeah. San Francisco is the one I compare it to.
Yeah, but it's got its own thing.
Yeah.
Melbourne's got its own thing. Fucking crowds are amazing.
Oh, aren't they cool? I know.
So fun.
Yeah.
They're great up there.
I do the Comedy Store in Sydney in between like bigger gigs that takes to make it worth it for them to bring you over there, and I love it. I just love the culture and the people.
I did that too. Ari and I did the Comedy Store in Sydney on a Sunday night on a whim. The fights took place early in the day so that it could be on UFC pay-per-view. And so we called up the Comedy Store and said, hey, can we do an impromptu show tonight? We'll just put it up on Twitter. And they said, all right, hold on. Let's call you right back. All right, we're doing it. Let's do it. And so we put it on Twitter, and then Ari and I went and did a show that night.
And they came, huh?
Yeah, it was packed. Yeah. It was awesome.
Cool that you have a draw. Like, you helped me get a draw in Australia. Isn't that amazing?
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, when I was, when I started out, if you get on the Tonight Show, that would be the first time all of America saw you.
Yeah.
But the whole world, not like this. The whole world hears this. It's
yeah, it was
incredible.
weird. This thing's got its own life.
I remember
I'm just here
I
working the wheel.
was at your house one day when kind of like you had started, but you said you feel, forget what the exact word, but a momentum going when you felt you knew something incredible was going to happen with this show. Do you remember that?
Well,
That you just had that. You told me you have a feeling, like you weren't bragging, not at all, but you were just like going with the energy of it,
Well, I was saying that I felt like there's something going on.
Yeah.
Like this show, like it was just starting to pick up momentum then, and I was like, there's something going on here. And then I was thinking about what the potential of this was. And at the time when we first started, there wasn't that many people listening to podcasts. It was very small.
Yeah.
And we were also streaming live on Ustream, and there wasn't many people listening to that either or watching that. But I was like, but this keeps growing. And I knew that I was very interested in doing it, so I knew I was going to get better at it. And I was always trying to figure out what ways I could do it better, how to get out of my own way, how to not talk over people, knowing when to talk, when not to talk.
Yeah.
I had to figure that out.
No, it's tricky.
It is tricky.
Oh.
It's tricky to pay, you have to put yourself in the seat of the person that's listening. And I think listening to podcasts helps that as well, and listening to things that you don't enjoy. So one of the things that Stephen King always says about writing is that you should write, but you should also read. You should read a lot. I think that's the case with podcasts too. I think that's the case with stand-up as well. I think listening to other stand-up is good. As long as you're not getting ideas from them, as long as you're just enjoying it. Like what the good feeling that you get from watching stand-up, watching someone kill, It's like I get inspired by it, and it makes me... And then I see things maybe that are a little clunky in someone's act. I'm like, they need to clean that up or tighten this up. And it makes me more cognizant about those flaws in my own act and makes me more self-aware.
Yeah, I love to watch, like Chris Rock when he does something and then 2 weeks later it works.
Yeah.
And you see him, and he's got a germ of something there, but he's so good at putting it, setting it up to be a potentially great bit,
Well, he's one of the all-time greats for a reason, and one of the reasons is he's a real craftsman. He's a real artist, Chris will go in there, and he's not just trying to kill every time he goes on stage, He's trying to develop material, and he's using that time, and it's a very valuable thing for him,
Well, I really believe that this generation is better than the generation I started with, and only because they got to see them and grow from them. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like you had to have somebody in the middle because, I mean, honestly, you and Bill, to me, I take you and Bill over Pryor and Carlin.
That's sacrilege.
No, I'm serious. As stand-ups. But, and I'm not saying that because you're my friend and we're here. I'm saying it because just I've seen these guys, and I love them, I mean, I was one of those kids that grew up watching him, but I think it just, your generation has taken it to a different level.
There's definitely a benefit in being able to see the people before you, for sure. Yeah. I've learned a lot watching other comedy, watching people. Just getting, we were talking yesterday about Richard Jeni, that I think...
brilliant writer.
Oh, you're so good. But
every time I see a man with sandals, I think of him. Say, how you doing there, Spartacus? Something like that.
Yeah. I was listening to one of his recordings on the way home, a big steaming pile of me, like, I don't know, at least a year ago. It's probably more. But I remember like getting a noticeable bump in my writing after I listened to it because it was so inspiring. Yeah. And that I think that's a giant advantage that we have today with like YouTube and iTunes and things along those lines, where you can listen to anything you want. Like, and go back, and I was listening to an old Woody Allen recording the other day. Just in my car driving, I listened to Woody Allen do stand-up in the 1960s. You could tell he was a fucking pervert even back then.
Yeah, well, you know what? There was a line. There was a line in Love. There was a line in Love and Death. Remember Love and Death?
Yes.
And Diane Keaton goes to this high priest, and she steps on his beard. It's a very funny scene. And he says, the most beautiful thing in the world is a 12-year-old girl, blonde hair, preferably twins, right? And this is all this perverted thing. I'm thinking, this happened 25 years before he got accused of anything.
Yeah.
But it was just interesting hearing him, because he did it even in Manhattan with Hemingway. It was a little bit twisted,
I don't remember Manhattan very much.
Well, he falls in love, and she falls in love with him. She's like supposed to be 16, and he's
Jesus Christ. Yeah, well, isn't that something that people tend to do? They try to normalize whatever fucked up perversion they have, and they put it into art. Like, that was one of the things that they were accusing Louis C.K. of with this movie that he released right before it came out, that he was jerking off in front of a bunch of people. He had this movie. And part of the movie was just talking about how everyone's a pervert. We're all perverts.
Well, I'll tell you something off the air when we get off. Remind me to tell you. I don't want to say it on the air.
Off the air with Dom Irrera. That's your new show. Off the air with Dom Irrera.
All I do is burn people and lose any contacts I've ever had.
Hey, is this thing on? It's not good. Let me tell you a story.
I got to go one. Yeah. Actually, the night that he went, or the day after he went, I went on stage. I said, I'm so excited I got a part in Louis C.K.'s new TV show. It should shoot in about 10, 15 years. And it took them a beat, and then they got it.
I think he'll be back in a year.
Well, you know what, Joe? He has that advantage of, he was the one that created the idea of selling your own thing, right? I
Yes.
mean, so he can do that. I mean, he doesn't need a producer for that.
That's true. That's true.
You'd have him on this show, right?
I would 100% have him on. Yeah. I think he's a different person than when he did those things. I think what those things that he did, jerking off in front of a bunch of people, is terrible. And I think he probably had an idea in his head of what those things were and of who he was and who he would be. And I think a lot of your self-definitions, a lot of times, are based on this very limited idea of who you are, very limited idea of who you're going to be.
Right.
And he's like wallowing in his own weirdness and just wants to jerk off in front of somebody. You know, it's out of all the offenses of things you could do to someone, it's one of the least egregious because he's not raping. He's
as
not.
long as he didn't lock the door.
He's not. Yeah, he didn't lock the door. He's not doing anything awful to someone. He's just doing something weird in front of them.
I think it's beautiful.
Do you? No, I don't think it's beautiful. There's a lot of things that I think are
I
beautiful.
think it's ape-like.
It's definitely ape-like. Well, it's human-like.
Then I batted it out of the air.
Because an ape doesn't really care if you're jerking off, if you're watching when he's jerking off.
He could be eating and jerking off at the same time.
Banana in one hand, banana in the other. Get it? Hey.
Yeah.
Hey. See what I did there? Yeah. Out of all the things that he did, and I think that his apology was what's the way to look at it? I think it was honest. And I think it sort of explained how his mind worked and why he did it in the first place. It's obviously not something he's proud of. It's obviously something he's disgusted by himself. And you can't. Here's the thing: you jerk off in front of someone 10 years ago. How do you fix that? You don't do it again, and he hasn't done it again. Here's the thing: no one's saying he's done anything in a long time. Like all the accusations were like, I want to say they were from years ago, right? What do you do? Like, how do you fix that? Like, so let's say you did jerk off in front of a few people, Dom. Like, you know, like I don't know what it came over me.
I jerked off in front of a blind lady. Does that still count?
It depends on how good her hearing is.
Oh, you're right.
If she's hearing,
yeah, you're right.
She's like, "What are you doing over there, Dom?"
My bad.
Nothing. And she has to guess. It's all fucking guesswork. How do you fix that? Like, what does a guy do to fix that? I mean, I think out of all the people, like, how the fuck would you rehabilitate Harvey Weinstein? How do you let Harvey Weinstein around a woman again? How do you leave Harvey Weinstein in a hotel room with a woman who comes in for a meeting or an office?
Cosby was the worst. Though.
He's the worst. He's the worst. I don't think you can rehabilitate him. What do you do? How do you fix that? The only way Cosby gets rehabilitated, I mean, not really rehabilitated, but the only way he gets reintroduced into society is if everyone believes those girls are lying, and that's never going to happen. It's impossible because everybody heard those stories a long time ago.
When I did Star Search in like '83, and he was the guest host, and we were hearing shit about him on the set then.
Really?
Womanizing and stuff. Yeah, I mean, of course, not as extreme as drugging them and raping them.
But like, if you're a guy like Louis C.K., what do you do? Like, what could he have done before the story came out that he's doing that to girls? What could he have done to make amends? I mean, what could he have done? He said sorry to some of the people.
I don't know. Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm just trying to think. I'm just trying. You're my friend. I'm looking at you. Okay. You're right there. I'm just thinking, like, what would one do? I mean, it seems like. I'm not exonerating him, right? But it seems like all these years since then, he hasn't done it again, right? So if he hasn't done it again, he must understand that there's something wrong with it.
Yeah,
there's some weird compulsion. And
it had to be a power thing because if anybody could get a hooker and do that, you know.
Well, here's the thing. He's probably doing that too.
Yeah.
I mean, if he liked jerking off in front of people, he might have just liked jerking off in front of all kinds of people. He might have jerked off in front of hookers too. I mean, I don't know. But we know that he did it in front of women that really didn't want him to do that.
That's what I thought might be part of the kinkiness of it.
Yeah. But there's some stories of him doing it in front of women and they thought it was hilarious. He did it in front of some female comics and they thought it was hilarious. How
do you stay hard when they're laughing?
You got to be a real animal. It's better man than me, Dom.
I did a line. Joe, I don't know what you think of this line, but Woody Allen, I mentioned him on stage, and these women started booing. I said, why are you booing? And they said, because of what he did and the daughter and all this. I said, look, I don't know. I said, but the one thing you got to admit, he really must love her because it's not like she's hot. You know, I know, but that got a laugh.
When we get off stage, I'll tell you Tony Hinchcliffe's new bit. I can't say it on stage, but I'll tell you on stage when you tell me your thing on stage.
What,
Tony Hinchcliffe has a new bit that's fucking ruthless and killed me. And we came up with it in the car this weekend. We're on a road trip, and we were talking about something, and he said it, and I fucking died. I said, you got to say that on stage. He goes, seriously? I go, you got to say that on stage.
Yeah,
I'll tell you. He did it last night, and the room fucking exploded.
You had to come back and do the show when I do it.
What show?
His show.
His show, Kill Tony? I don't like to work Monday nights.
Oh, yeah. Well, you got to.
I have a schedule now.
No, you got to see the family. I agree.
Yeah, but I have a schedule now on Monday.
Sundays and Mondays.
Sundays and Mondays is extreme family time. I don't do jack shit.
No, because you won't have these days, and they grow up so fast. Not to get corny, but
It's
enjoy
true.
them.
Yeah, it's true. I'm enjoying it. I'm happier now than I've ever been in my life.
Good. That's great to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I'm a nicer person now than I've ever been in my life.
Way nicer. Jeez. You didn't have much to compare it with. You little prick.
But I think it just makes you, Dave Chappelle said this to me once, and I think it was a really great quote. He said, not only has having children made me love someone more than I ever thought I could, it's changed my capacity for love.
And that's cool, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, my capacity for love is much greater. I'm like, that makes sense. Like, you realize, like, a lot of our struggles and a lot of the shit that we go through in this life, it's a lot of it is about perspective, and a lot of it is about who's around you and what kind of loving environment you're around. And it's also having kids and not having the strain, the financial strain, the emotional strain, and the ignorance strain that my parents had and their parents had. Like, ignorance is a big thing too. Like, they didn't know how to raise kids back then.
Of course not.
They hit us, they yelled at us, and they didn't know. I mean, my mom didn't hit me, but it was a common thing for people to hit their kids.
I remember Bruce Willis said to me one time, to be a name dropper, he said, one of the things about having kids, he goes, his little girl, I forget the middle one's name, he said she would wake me up to walk her to the bathroom, and to her, I wasn't a movie star. I was daddy,
right?
Because she's afraid of the dark, walking her in,
Yeah.
And he said that really humanized him and made him feel good because you know what it's like. You get stroked all the time. It's like sometimes you just want to be normal.
Well, not only that, when Bruce Willis was famous, there was way less famous people. Because there was no famous internet personalities, there was no famous reality TV stars, there was way less famous rappers, and there was way less famous comedians. Think of how few famous comedians there were.
Yeah. Well, that's why we all, like me and Dice and guys that were on Rodney's specials, we were really fucking lucky because we became instant draws.
I paid to see you after you were on Rodney's special.
Right, you at Nick's, right?
Yeah, I went to see you at Nick's, and I went to see you 2 nights in a row because one night I thought you were supposed to be there, and either you missed your flight or something happened, and Dennis Leary was there instead. And I was like, what the fuck? And so we came back the next day, and we saw you again. But
who were you with?
A girl that I was dating. Her name was Stephanie. She used to tell me what to do. She was older.
Oh, really? She was the dominant one?
She was. It was the first girl. She was 25. I was 21.
She's sick.
She liked the dick, though. I'll tell you that. Woo.
Like a little bit of the old schlezio.
Well, that was what was exciting about it. She was the first woman I dated. Like, she was a woman.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I had dated girls before that. That girl was a woman. And, she was fucking smart, too.
I prefer girls who are a woman's age.
Yeah. Yeah, she was just intense. She'd tell me what to do with stand-up, too. She'd give me stand-up
Really?
advice. Yeah. It's kind of hilarious.
I saw that Seinfeld episode where the girl broke up with him because of his act. Did you
Oh,
ever see
really?
that?
No,
it's
no,
so
no.
fucking funny. She goes, I don't think this is going to work. He goes, why? We're having a great time. She says, well, your act with the did you ever notice? And all. She goes, that's not my style of comedy. He goes, you're breaking up with me because of my act? She goes, yes, I am. And that was the end of the show.
That's hilarious. Well, if you were a girl and you were a huge comedy fan, Like imagine if you were a girl and you love Chappelle and Bill Burr and Dom Irrera and Duncan Trussell and Joey Diaz and all these great comedians, and then you start dating a prop act.
Hey, right.
And he's the worst prop act.
Yeah.
It's like fucking He's got a soundtrack he has to play. Hit the music. And he fucking drops down and comes up with an outfit
I said
on.
hit it.
It's terrible jokes. And
Sophie told me that she couldn't go out with me if she didn't like my act.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're a comedy fan, I mean, if you're a music fan, how the fuck could you date a guy who's got terrible songs?
Yeah.
How could you? It would be rough. You know, if you're a bad accountant, you know, but you're a great guy, you probably still get a date. You know? But if you're fucking terrible at the thing that someone loves, right?
Well, it's so much more personal than debits and credits. You know, it's like your stand-up is you, a reflection of you. Generally, I mean, if a good stand-up is, you know.
One of the most personal things. I think music, stand-up, maybe writing. Writing's pretty personal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But stand-up, really good stand-ups reveal something of themselves. You feel like you know them.
For sure.
Something you relate to them.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, there's more famous stand-ups today. I was talking with Jeff Wills from Live Nation.
I know Jeff, yeah.
Jeff and I were talking about the number of guys today and gals that can sell out big-ass theaters. And it's nuts. He's like, dude, 20 years ago, there was nobody. There was like a handful. Everybody worked the clubs, and there was a few George Carlins out there.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, a few Chris Rocks or, you know, whoever it was at the time that could sell out a theater. And now, like, fucking everybody's selling out these theaters. It's crazy.
Well, if they have the right social media, yeah.
Social media.
But they still have to have an act because they'll sell out once,
Sure.
maybe twice,
Right.
but then it's done. That's what happened with a lot of those people from that stand-up competition show.
Oh, yeah. Last Comic Stand.
Yeah, they went around once. Then the ones that were good, like Alonzo Bowden.
Eliza.
Yeah.
Eliza's probably the most successful out of that group.
Yeah.
She's done more, I think. She's had more specials. She sells out everywhere. She does good-sized theaters. Yeah. She's selling out. She just sold out her whole tour. She probably has the most success.
She works hard. Yeah.
She does work hard. That girl kicks ass. Like, she doesn't fuck around.
She told me something so funny when she was on my podcast. This is when Jamie still did it. And she goes, I have a great body, you know. she has sweatpants on her. I'm thinking, well, no, I don't know. Show it, for God's sakes. Wear a skirt. I don't know.
And then she'd tell you you're some piece of shit for asking a show.
No, but I mean, I don't know what to tell her. Like, you know.
Well, she's funny. She's a aggressive girl. When she was on my podcast, the fucking comments were hilarious. Like, men either love her or they fucking hate her. Like, the thumbs up, the thumbs down versus Eliza, like on the podcast, the thumbs up versus thumbs down. She got like one of the worst ratios of anyone that's ever been on the podcast.
Really?
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking to her. I like her. I'm not threatened by confident, I would say cocky women. Doesn't threaten me.
Yeah.
But for a lot, because I'm not threatened by confident, cocky men. I'm around them all the time.
Of course.
It doesn't bother me. I don't judge you by it. Maybe I feel like it's silly sometimes with some people. If they're too confident or too cocky or they're too dismissive of other people, I think it's silly. But I don't get mad at it. I would have when I was younger.
Yeah.
When I was younger, someone that was like cocky or overconfident or just, you know, I'd feel threatened by it or I'd be upset by it or I'd judge them, you know, in a weird way where I would connect all my own shit to them, get upset at them.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I definitely have trouble with attitude. I'm thinking, you know how lucky you are? You know how lucky we are to be in this?
Yes.
Are you out of your fucking mind? You know what it's like to work?
Well, one of the things about you, Dom, you're always super supportive of young guys and girls too. You've always been like real supportive of
thanks,
young
Joe.
comics.
I think you should be. You know,
I think so too, and I've learned a lot of that from you.
Oh, cool, man. That's nice of you to say. I was thinking about Tiffany because Tiffany means a lot to me. You know, I taught her at comedy camp when she was a teenager, and I've seen her through.
Really?
I've seen her through a bunch of struggles.
That's crazy.
Foster homes, and she kept trying to keep her family together. So I had her on a podcast, and she said, you know, She was saying, back in the day, she goes, I wanted to fuck you. Right? And I said, first of all, Tiffany, you're like a goddaughter to me. It never crossed my mind. And it really didn't, even though I think she's a beautiful girl. And I said, the second thing is, I'd never take my pants in front of you. I said, no, all I got is this beautiful black girl going, you call that a dick? That's my biggest fear.
It's funny watching her blow up. She's hilarious, and she took to it like a duck to water.
Oh man!
Like immediately
talk
got
about confidence.
Oh, she's got massive confidence.
Yeah.
But immediate, like almost like she feels like that's where she was always meant to be. Like she was just waiting for the bell to ring. You know,
when she did Colbert, honest to God, I was sitting there crying. I swear,
crying with happiness.
Yeah, I was so.
That's awesome.
No, jealousy. I was bitter. Fuck, how'd she get on this show? And
I love Colbert. He doesn't even return my calls.
I've got Trump jokes too.
That's all that show is these days, right?
Well, I don't think it'd be on the air if it wasn't for Trump.
It would be on the air.
I don't know, Joe.
Yeah.
They were dying. They were way behind. Not like all about my Nielsen ratings all of a sudden.
But they were behind, right?
They were way behind.
And then he went for it.
Yeah. Now,
when he called the president's mouth Putin's cock holster, I was like, holy shit! I can't believe he said that on the air.
That.
You didn't hear that?
No.
He went on this epic rant about Trump. And then he said something about his mouth being Putin's cock holster.
Wow.
And they beeped out cock, obviously. It's pretty obvious what he said. But I'm sitting there going, what is going on with late night TV?
Yeah. Well, I know Kimmel's been on a run lately of crying and talking about
crying.
He is. He does. I think he breaks down like every night now at one point in the monologue.
It's good for ratings. It's really good for ratings. He's a sensitive guy.
It's a good way to cut the commercial.
He's a legitimately sensitive guy.
Yeah.
He's a very nice guy.
I like
Jimmy Kimmel is a
Yeah.
very, very good person. Like he's a genuine nice guy with a real heart, and he really does care. You know, I remember he cried after the Vegas shooting. He's from Vegas. Did he cry recently? Was it the school shooting?
Yeah, yeah. But that was brutal.
She's fucking.
The girl that I go out with was there that night, and she was at the Trop, and all the people came running down into the Trop.
Oh Jesus!
You know? So New Year's Eve, I'm with
the
her.
Vegas shooting.
Yeah,
yeah.
And people, they had to stay there for a couple hours. They had everything under lockdown because they didn't know who had guns and who didn't. They didn't know if it was one person or 50 people.
Right.
And she's at the Trop, and she got kind of traumatized by it. So New Year's Eve, we're walking outside, and all of a sudden she starts shaking, and she was having an anxiety attack, you know, about being in a crowd. So I was just fucking her, trying to make her laugh. I said, no, don't worry about it. And then when we're, the fireworks, I said, all I really care about is fireworks. And you took that away from me because of your selfish feelings, but I got her laughing anyway. Yeah.
Ugh, the fucking, the volume of them. It seems like every couple months there's a new one.
Remember when Columbine, we thought this is terrible and this won't happen again? It's like there's so many now, you get used to it, which is sad.
Yeah. It's fucking crazy. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if it's tighter gun control. I don't know if that would stop them because it would just make it more difficult to get guns. But would that be enough? I mean, but we're not doing anything.
Well, I think we got to try something.
I don't know what to do. I mean, and there's also the number of people that are on psychiatric medication. It's fucking crazy.
Well, I think that for the M15s or whatever they are, they shouldn't be sold. They shouldn't be. I mean, you really need that to kill a pheasant.
It's not a hunting gun, really.
The guy who designed them said he made it for war. Yeah,
the real guns for hunting are usually bolt action rifles, which means you have a round. You have usually 2 or 3 in the magazine. You have a couple or one in the chamber. You put it in there. You lock it in place. You clamp it down. And you fire a shot, and then you have to bolt it again. You have to use the action again. The shell pops out, and another one goes in. Bolt that down, and then you get another shot. It's a very slow thing.
Yeah,
like it takes a couple of seconds.
Modern day musket.
Whereas these ARs, you're like tack, 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 tack.
Oh man!
Or with the bump stocks, they apparently the president wants to ban bump stocks. What a bump stock is?
Oh yeah,
it's a stock where you pull back on it. And apparently you push forward and pull back at the same time. I don't know, I might be fucking this up. But the thing is the stock makes the trigger go like that, where it's almost like an automatic weapon. And Trump just decided to ban those. And there's a lot of people that are up in arms about him banning those. Like the gun rights people don't want to lose anything. They don't want to lose any rights.
Right.
They don't want to lose any fucking crazy ass weapons. They think that any slip is eventually going to lead to them getting their guns taken away. Like, I follow a bunch of NRA people and gun people on Twitter and
Nobody's
Instagram.
going to take their guns away.
They
I'm
think
sorry.
they are. They think they are. I mean, I agree with you. I don't think that's ever going to come to that. But the idea that tighter regulation is bad, I don't think that's true. I think first of all, you should have to go through some sort of examination. If you can go through you can't drive a fucking car unless you prove that you know how to operate a car. Like, someone has to be there with you that's an expert, who's a driving expert, who watches you. They watch, make sure you know what to do. What do you do here at this light? Do you know how to hit the brakes? Do you stop perfectly? Do you look left and right before you turn? All that shit is super important if you want to drive. How the fuck is it not super important if you operate a goddamn firearm?
I know. I don't understand. Like the kid who bought I think the kid who did the latest shooting in Florida. Mm-hmm. I think it was, if I'm putting two stories together, I don't know, but apparently he was underage and had fake ID and still was able to buy it.
I don't know. I didn't read that story.
Maybe, you know.
I avoided the story. I saw the kid's face, and I saw it's fucking insane. And you hear all the stories about kids that were saying that they knew that this kid was going to be a school shooter anyway.
Wow.
They were saying in the past that, and then one of the things he wrote it on Facebook or something, that he wants to be a professional school shooter. Wow. And then 2 years later, and he got visited by the FBI. The FBI actually checked this fucking kid out, talked to him about it, and decided he wasn't a threat. How do you decide someone's a threat or not a threat?
Well, if you're talking to them, they're a threat. I mean, the FBI can't talk to everybody, but I would be suspicious of anyone that it took that much energy to go find. How did they find him? Why would they even question him?
Yeah, I think people were saying that he's a fucking psychopath.
Yeah,
it hurts. It's just sad. It's just fucking sad that. It's sad that anyone could do that. It's sad that anyone would be hurting and so fucked up that you could take a child. Imagine you have a kid, right? You got a little Dom Irrera, little tiny baby. And he's just a cute little fella, little tiny baby. And they don't know anything. And they giggle when you tickle them. And then from there, one day, that becomes a school shooter.
Oh, my God.
That's what people have to take into consideration. This boy, this 19-year-old boy who did that, was a baby at one point in time. He's a failed process, a failed product, whether it's through his environment, his family, his DNA, all the above, his life experiences, all the pain, the trauma, mental illness, all these various factors. But that used to be a baby. Probably the cutest little fucker.
Yeah.
Probably hold him and cuddle him. He'd go to sleep in your arms. And one of the things that's changed with me since, and it changes a little bit every day. I feel like every day I just get a little bit more compassionate and more understanding, and I work towards it. It's something I really think about. But having children, I think of people as they used to be a child. They used to be a baby.
I think of that with homeless people.
Yeah,
see them lying there
Yeah.
under all those blankets and stuff. I think this person was born to somebody.
Yeah,
you know.
I was thinking that the other day. I was at Coffee Bean, and I knew a homeless guy was there from the smell. I was pouring cream into my coffee.
I wouldn't have smelled them, Joe.
You wouldn't have, right? You were just talking about this before the podcast. Your sense of smell's no good.
So go ahead.
Anyway, the guy smelled so bad that he was dressed fairly normal. Like, he wasn't disgustingly dressed. I had to look at him to recognize, like, oh, this guy's homeless.
Right.
I looked over and he just fucking stunk. It was rough. I mean, he just stunk. And I looked over and the guy's sitting there with his head in his hands like this, like he's probably just full of, terrible anxiety or thoughts or depression or whatever it was. But I was thinking there when I'm pouring cream in my coffee, I was like, that was someone's little boy.
Yep.
That was someone's little boy. And now here he is. He looks like he's in his 60s, and he's all fucked up and smells like shit. And he's sitting there in this Coffee Bean, and he's sitting by himself with his head in his hands, and everyone's avoiding him. They're all just moving around him. And
yeah. If you think of life like that, and you think of people like that, it's easier to be humanized.
Yes.
I like when we were talking about Louis, and not to knock Louis again, but this kid, I was working the brokerage in Long Island, and he comes in with his mom to see me, and he said, I don't think what Louis did was that bad. He didn't rape her or anything. I said, well, what about if he did it to your sister? He goes, I'd fucking kill him. I said, well, that should tell you something. First of all, you shouldn't kill him for that, but if it bothers you enough, that's somebody else's sister.
Yeah.
And Louis apologized, and I'm not trying to jump on him again, but I mean, you got to know how you'd feel about it when it was personal.
Yeah. Well, the Louis one's so weird.
Well, it's very weird. Yeah.
It's the weirdest one ever. It's not like you're with someone and you're making out and you pull your dick out and she grabs it and.
Stop it! I'm getting hard over here.
I mean, this is not. You're not in the act of intimacy. It's just
there's no touching. There's not even verbal abuse. The only thing you touch is yourself.
Maybe it was oral abuse, like as in sound. Like maybe you made weird noises.
You make that face too? Are we on camera? We are on camera.
I wonder how many people make a Ric Flair when they come.
What's
Like,
that?
You know when Ric Flair? Woo! Do you remember Ric Flair?
No.
You're talking to the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, jet flying, limousine riding.
He's a fighter?
No, he's a pro wrestler.
Oh, that's what I meant.
Yeah. It's fucking just he is. He's an American iconic character, not just a pro wrestler, like an American icon. But to this day, I'll talk about Ric Flair on stage and point the microphone in the audience, and the audience just goes, "Woo!"
Now, who was
There he
the
is,
guy
right there, Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
Wow. I don't remember him. Who was the guy that Muhammad Ali modeled his? Was it Gorgeous George? He modeled his. He always
His
talks
shit
about.
talking.
He gave credit to this guy that's a professional wrestler.
Oh, no kidding. That's
I
interesting.
think it was Gorgeous George.
Could be. There was a lot of those guys back then.
Yeah.
You remember Killer Kowalski?
Yeah.
You remember him? Yeah.
Of course.
The claw, grab your head.
Oh, is that what? Remember
Yeah.
who was the one? The cocoa butt. Bobo Brazil. Bobo Brazil did the coconut, and there was Bruno Sammartino.
Bruno Sammartino. Interesting.
He was world champion.
How Muhammad Ali's fascination with pro wrestling fueled his career, inspired MMA. Interesting. Gorgeous George. That's crazy. You're
was
right.
Gorgeous George.
Yeah. Interesting. What was a stupid ad you have to watch for the Olympics there? Boy, this Olympics is. I think I'm going to say this. I think the Olympics are gross. This is why I think the Olympics are gross. I think it's a great opportunity for all those athletes. I think it's great for people to watch it. But I think it is a fucking disgusting money grab, and all those amateur, air quotes, athletes don't get paid shit.
I know.
And these companies are making billions and billions of dollars off of them. And I really wish they would all quit. I really wish they would say, fuck you, pay me. I really wish they would just go straight Ray Liotta.
They give up
fuck
their-
you, pay me.
They give up their youth for that.
Not only that, the fucking companies, they're so restrictive. The IOC and all the people that are behind it are so restrictive, and they are making ungodly sums of money. Ungodly contracts. They're just giant contracts to air the Olympics. Wow. Giant amounts of money to build these stadiums and set up these events, and everything is about nationalism and national pride, whether it's in Korea or Russia or wherever the fuck they do them. But meanwhile, the athletes don't get dick. They don't get dick. If you're lucky and you're Michael Phelps, you become famous out of it, and you get a bunch of commercials and endorsements, and you make a shitload of money that way. But how many Michael Phelpses are there? Was it 3 or 4? I mean, how many? But how many in all the Olympics? And out of all the Olympics, Jamie, you're a sports fan. Out of all the Olympics, say like the Olympics this year. Well, let's go the last one. Who the fuck came out of it where they're a household name?
Oh, yeah. Right now you got Shaun White and maybe
Okay, I heard of that guy.
Yeah, the girl that won, Kim is her last name.
Who's the one that
17-year-old
won
snowboarder.
Who's the one that
There's
won the
2.
bronze last night or 2 nights before? The real famous.
There's Lindsey Vonn.
That's
She's
who-
very
that's who-
famous.
yeah.
She's very famous, and she used to date Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
That made her famous too. Plus, she's hot. That makes her famous.
There's been others, like Peekaboo
She's
Street.
hot.
She had interesting names, so like that
Yeah.
helped her. She was a gold medal winner, I believe.
How many other ones are there?
There's a few. I mean, it's
There's like a handful.
They can build a story around someone, and they can sell a story.
But when you get to the point where it's worthwhile to sacrifice your entire life and it actually pays off, what are the odds? It's so fucking small. But meanwhile, people are tuning in to all of it. They're making massive amounts of revenue from all of it, and they're not sharing it with the athletes at all. I think it's fucking gross. They pretend it's amateur. They pretend it's an amateur. It's a goddamn motherfucking business. That's what the Olympics are.
Well, you can say
it's
that about
only
college
a
sports,
business.
too.
You can.
But, I mean,
you should.
basketball and football, really.
NCAA says student athletes shouldn't be paid because the 13th Amendment allows unpaid prison labor. What the fuck? Oh, that's Sean King.
No, this
Click
is breaking
off.
out. This is there's a
Find me another article.
well. This was the main one going around, but there's a
That's crazy. Did they really
lawsuit.
say that? Did
Yeah.
they really say that? The 13th Amendment, which
cited-
allows unpaid prison labor?
They cited in a lawsuit response to a motion
Oh,
to dismiss,
God.
and that's what they use as their
That's
citing.
so disgusting. They're so disgusting. They're the same to me. NCAA, college football and basketball, same thing to me.
They have
Pay those guys.
100,000 people.
Yeah, fuck you. Pay those guys. Pay them. Pay those girls. Pay all those athletes. You're making money. You're making money and you're not sharing it with the athletes. They might as well be slaves. They might as well be fucking prisoners. The Olympics, NCAA, all that shit. It's just, there's no way you could do that fresh today. If you started from scratch
No,
today
no way.
and said, we're going to make billions of dollars and we're going to give you ungats.
An education. Got so cool.
There was no way.
We're
You
going
could
to give
never
you
do
an
it.
education.
Imagine if they did that with the Olympics today. They said, look, we're going to spend billions of dollars and the athletes, what are they going to pay? Oh, we're not going to pay them shit. They don't get anything.
You're
Matter of fact, if you
representing
make
your
any
country.
money, you're fucked. You're out. It used to be that if you made money, you're out. But now they let basketball players play in the Olympics. They let the NBA players.
Because I think it was Russia was getting close and they beat us once in '72, I think.
Oh, is that what it was?
But, they started thinking about it then when they were catching up. The European players were catching up. They go, fuck this, we're going to send over our brothers.
NBC Sports is about to make $1.4 billion in 22 days. Thanks to the Super Bowl and the Winter Olympics. Okay, the Super Bowl at least is professional athletes. I get
Well, they
that.
get paid,
They
yeah.
get paid. Whether they get paid enough is up for debate. I get that. But the Olympics, they're not getting paid dick. And it's fucking gross, and it makes me angry. And it's one of the reasons why I don't watch the Olympics. I get mad at it. You know, I wanted to be in the Olympics at one point in time.
To fight?
I wanted to be in when Taekwondo was being introduced to the Olympics in
wow.
1988.
Uh-huh.
I tried out for the national team. I got it to like the quarterfinals in Miami. I won 3 fights, and it was that was the last, like my really last fascination with Taekwondo. I'd kind of given up on Taekwondo really before it. I'd started kickboxing already, and I'd realized the limitations of Taekwondo.
What is that?
The hands, punching to the face. Taekwondo, you don't punch to the face. You punch the body, and you kick to the face and kick to the body, which
Never
is
knew that.
yeah, it's a very different thing because it's so easy to punch someone in the face comparatively, and so hard to kick someone in the face. So the dexterity of the legs, like for people that know how to kick, it's just you develop much more leg dexterity, and you get way better at kicking and moving your legs.
Right.
But as soon as you fight a good boxer, you realize how poor the balance is between your hands and your feet. And I had to really develop my hand techniques. And so I was really concentrating on boxing at that point in my life, like really learning how to box and learning how to punch correctly and learning how to put kicks together with punches, because there's a bunch of stuff that you can get away with if someone's not punching you in the face that you can't get away with as soon as they start doing it. And I was already kind of disillusioned because I was just learning that it was very flawed. And then I started doing Muay Thai with leg kicks, and I realized, like, well, Jesus Christ, like as soon as you kick the legs, like most of this shit's out the window.
Right.
It changes what you can and can't get away with.
What do you think is the most lethal of martial arts?
The best martial art to learn for someone for self-defense?
Or even fighting them, for beating them in a fight.
It's hard to beat wrestling because wrestling, you dictate whether or not the fight stays up or goes to the ground.
Right.
Where wrestling is, like, in my opinion, the best base. But once you've passed that, then it's about submissions. So it's wrestling and then submissions. Because if a guy has wrestling, he can take you to the ground and punch you in the face and stuff like that. But if the guy on the bottom is good at jiu-jitsu, he might still be able to submit you, like the early UFC days. Hoist Gracie submitted much larger people like Dan Severn off of his back. And Dan Severn was a real world-class wrestler at the time, and Hoist submitted him off his back with jiu-jitsu because he didn't know jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
So I think wrestling, the ability to take someone down is probably number one, but jiu-jitsu is a very close second. Because the problem with jiu-jitsu is if a guy knows how to wrestle really good and he can keep you standing up, if he's better at punching and kicking, he could fuck you up standing up and you'll never get the fight to the ground to use your jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
Because his wrestling could also keep the fight standing. The wrestling dictates where the fight takes place. That to me is like the most critical thing. Like if you're a wrestler, you have the ability to take someone down, you have the ability to stand up, and you have the ability to keep someone from taking you down. Those are giant. Like that, to be able to choose where the fight takes place is giant.
That's cool.
But when I was doing Taekwondo, there was really no MMA. No one had ever even invented it. Like, I stopped fighting in 88, I think. 88 or 89, I'm not exactly sure. I was doing comedy at the time, too.
When did you say we met?
We met in 93, I think, or 92. Might have been 92.
So I was probably with Kim at the time.
Yes. Yeah. I was done fighting then. I was done. But I was still thinking about it. I was still thinking about it for years. You know, if everything went wrong, comedy fell apart for me, maybe I'd take a fight, you know.
When did you know that the comedy wasn't going to fall apart?
A couple weeks ago.
2 weeks. It was looking good. I was driving one of my four cars. I was driving my one car over to the other car.
I was like, this might work out. Sell all this and just live modestly. Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess... Really, I really didn't think it was going to work out until I was on TV, you know. Then I was like, hey, this might be all right.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing, though. The not knowing if it's going to work out is what keeps you hungry. I think the worst thing in life could ever happen is you get an inheritance.
Kind of takes the incentive away, huh?
Just why? Yeah, you're not scared. If you're not scared about the future, you're not scared about what the fuck's going to happen. You have to. That feeling of not knowing is awesome. I mean, that feeling creates movement and anxiety and energy. Like, some of my best sets I've ever had, and the biggest jumps I've ever had in my life, in my career, have been after I'd had terrible sets. And some of my best moments in life as a person have been after I felt terrible. Like, after I fucked something up or I did something stupid, and I'm just like, how could I do that? Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And then you feel like shit for a few days, and then you emerge out of it like a phoenix from the ashes, and you're a better person because of that bad feeling. Like, those bad moments, like, don't just drown them out. Don't take pills. Don't just drown them out. Sometimes those bad moments are an incentive for you to move forward and progress.
I remember when I did the Tonight Show the first time. It was not fun because it was like the imprimatur. It was like
it Johnny Carson?
Wow. And it was like...
what was that like?
It was terrifying. I wanted to run into the woods in Burbank and start a new life. I swear to God, I was so fucking...
Small patch of woods.
I was scared. Yeah, I know. But
you see your tent from the street.
Do you know what I did, Joe, after my set?
What?
I went and did a set at the Comedy Store.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I just wanted to see the juxtaposition of the two. And
it must have felt good.
Oh, it felt great. Just to be back on my turf, you know, because that wasn't my turf.
They said Teddy Bergeron did that. Do you remember Teddy Bergeron set at the Comedy Store? Let me tell you this, folks. I don't know if I've said this before. I probably have because I'm a repetitive fuckhead. But Teddy Bergeron, at one point in time, was one of the greatest comics that ever lived. He was fucking incredible. And he did a Tonight Show set. And he got on the piano, and he was like singing on the piano and talking on the piano, and it was magical. And they said he went to the Comedy Store that night and got fucked out of his head and was stumbling into the streets and just out of his mind, just had a problem with substances.
Yeah, I know. I remember he being so drunk that we were at a club in Long Island, and he sat on the edge of the stage and started crying, and the audience thought that he was fucking around, so they all started laughing.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, can you imagine? So,
that's hilarious.
And by the way, his set on The Tonight Show, this is what I was told. He did so much overtime that they had to bump somebody, and that's why he went to the couch.
Wow.
Wasn't he went to the couch because it was so great? And he never did the show again, as far as I know. But
I think he never did the show again because he fucked something up. I think he got drunk and fucked something up.
But he did way too much time.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
But they loved him. Like, Johnny was loving him. Like, how could he not have him on again?
Johnny was very supportive of mostly everybody, you know. Yeah. So he was the greatest.
Didn't Howard Stern hate Johnny Carson, though?
Did he really?
I think he did. I think he hated him. Like, I remember him talking about Johnny Carson being a terrible person.
Wow.
A piece of shit. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I hope I'm not wrong with that. The most nervous I ever got, ever, for doing anything was doing Stern.
Oh yeah,
I was terrified.
because you wanted to.
'Cause he was an idol of mine. I mean, for me, he was my generation's Johnny Carson.
Yeah,
Because I didn't give a fuck about being on the Tonight Show. To me, I was a dirty comic. I cared about.
I never thought I'd be on it, Joe.
Yeah, I like guys like Hicks and Kinnison and Dice and Pryor, and like that's not that Tonight Show stuff was great. I enjoyed watching like Jenny on or you on or someone who could do that style and do it really well.
That style is really hard for me. I'd rather do improv.
But you used to do it well. You were great on those shows.
Thanks. I tried, but you know.
But it's not you like at the Comedy Store killing.
No.
It's a different thing. It's a different thing.
Yeah.
I just was never attracted to it. It's just, to me, the 5 minutes, the censorship, the all this stuff is just like, it didn't mean anything to me.
I always think the coolest thing about your career is you did what you wanted to do. I mean, you did a sitcom. You did look at the career you have now. I mean, it's like it's only you in that lane. You know what I mean?
It's bizarre. I don't know how it happened.
That you do this announcing jobs, and it's like you could be just that, and you're already a success. But you got stand up, you got anything you want, you know.
Well, yeah, it's just like you said. It's just things I enjoy. I'm lucky that there's things that I enjoy that are jobs.
Yeah,
That's what
that
it
are
is.
lucrative. It's always a good thing.
But the night before I did Stern for the first time, I was shitting my pants.
That's
I had
funny.
a little,
I would never thought that.
nervous as fuck, because it was, to me, it was like, I can't even believe I'm really going to do his show.
Yeah.
Like, to me, like, if they told me I was going to do the Tonight Show, I'd be like, all right, I'll do it. Like, I mean, I would have been nervous. I would have been a
Would
little
you do
nervous.
it now?
No, I don't want to. I was
Well,
like I was saying
it's
before, I
like
don't want to do
Tosh.
anything.
All you could do
Yeah.
is lose. It's better.
Well,
you
I
keep,
mean, you could win. You could have a good set and
No,
have
no, I
fun
mean-
and everything like that. But
But you're expected to have
Yeah.
a good set. You know.
well, it's just I talk too much. I talk too much already. I talk too much so far. I want to go. Let's go play pool. Let's wrap this fucker up.
You wanna?
Dominic, let's do it.
I'll shoot a couple of games.
All right, let's wrap this up and go play pool.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Anytime, my brother. Anytime. Where can people see you? You got some dates coming up?
Next week I'm at the Black Box in Boca Raton, and then the following week I'm at Vinny Brand's Club, Stress Factory.
Oh, in New Jersey. Awesome club.
And then the Improv at Vegas in the first week of April.
And all of this on your website?
I don't know.
Who maintains your website?
Some guy who's a fan of mine from.
Oh.
He's a great guy. This guy David.
Hey, Dave, tell us, is it DomIrrera.com?
Yeah, I
Do you have
think
a
so.
calendar up there? How the fuck do people find out where your gigs are?
I try and keep a secret. I don't want to be bothered by crowds.
Dominic Irrera, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you,
We're going to
Joe.
go play some pool. Love you, brother.
Love you too.